Best of r/ Tales from Tech Support episode 92. Subscribe for edit videos daily. Hey, all. First time poster in this thread. Just had something miraculous happen at my job and it was too good to not share. Some context. I work for a small business on an IT team of 3. I handle more of the infrastructure and project work. But since we sit in open cubicles, occasionally a user will approach me directly since they tend to just see all of us equally when it comes to needing help. In this case, a user from our merchandising/marketing group approached me with a request. $me, IT system analyst. $MG, marketing guy. $MG, hey $me, do you have a sec? I have a disk with some files burnt to it and I'd like to copy them over to a USB drive. Do you have a disk drive I can use? My laptop doesn't have one. $me, sure thing. Grabs USB CD/DVD drive from my drawer. We head over to $MG's office. I walk $MG through connecting the disk drive to his laptop and insert the disk. We pull up the drive volume and he points out the files he needs to copy appear to be there. $me, okay, so let's go ahead and plug the flash drive in so we can copy those files over. $MG, plugs in flash drive, pulls up volume and sees there are some files already saved on it. He promptly yanks the flash drive out of the laptop and throws it in the trash. $me, oh, was there something wrong with that drive? $MG, yeah, let me just grab another drive real quick. $MG pulls out another flash drive, plugs it in, pulls up the volume, and again sees that there are already files saved on the flash drive. He once again pulls it out of the computer and throws it in the trash. $me, what was wrong with that drive? $MG, oh, there were already files saved on that one. I don't have any blank flash drives, do you have a spare one? $me, you know you can delete files off a flash drive and save new files to it, right? $MG, looks astonished to learn this piece of information. $me, let me show you real quick. Pulls drive out of the trash, plugs it in, and shows him that he can just select all the files, and click delete. Proceed to copy intended files from the CD to the flash drive. $MG, you're the man. $me, no worries, quickly walks away trying to not express any emotion. At this point I absolutely lost it and had to tell my other 2 team members who also died of laughing. $MG is actually a great user, but occasionally does some goofy things, so this is all shared with good intentions. Thought this was a pretty good one for a Tuesday, thank you. Next. So I was working at a small computer repair shop back in 2016 as an apprentice. This regular customer comes in, he owns a small builder's yard. Hello Steve, fucker name, how's business? I asked as he came in. Yeah, good mate, except this PC, I know it's not one of the ones you sold me, but can you have a look at it? It's extremely loud and getting kinda slow. Sure thing. So instantly I see the fans and the case itself is covered in a thin layer of sawdust and brick dust. Yeah, it's gonna need a good cleaning I think, and we got a 250 GB SSD, only used the PC for emails and Word documents, no data stored on it, going cheap if you want it. Came out of a new laptop we upgraded, no personal data was on it. Yeah, sounds good, I'll pick it up Friday. So I completely strip the PC and individually clean every part. Everything was covered in a thick layer of sawdust and brick dust. I had cleaned every part except for the power supply when my boss arrives. My boss comes back in and I update him on the workshop when a 14-year-old and his dad come in looking for a gaming PC. I knew a bit more about gaming than my boss, so I talk to them while he puts the PC back together and prepare to clone the HDD to the SSD. Just as I finish the sale I hear my boss shout "motherfucker," followed by a large bang. I like my head into the shop to see the power supply glowing orange. Yeah, it blew up. My boss quickly unplugs the PC and the fire goes out. After I deal with the gamer and apologizing to the dad about the boss's language, we call up Steve. Hello Mr. Fucker name, it's Enigma from the computer shop. Yeah, you're gonna need a new SU. It blew up in my boss's face. He accepted and we had a good laugh about it on Friday when he came in. He also purchased 3 years worth of internet security for his machines, so all was good in the end. He actually became a very regular customer after and purchased multiple laptops and desktops of us. Thank you. Next. I was reminded of the story recently, but it happened about 6 or 7 years ago. I was working for the tech services section of a prominent big box retailer with blue shirts. I was working a morning shift that day, so in at 9 AM. I had checked in a lady that morning for some issues 9 AM with her laptop. Now the way this works is I spend 10-15 minutes with the client to get an understanding of what the problem is, and then create the service order. When the computer gets checked in, it gets flagged for diags or eval. Eval is for when the computer either cannot turn on or cannot connect to the network. That was not the issue with this computer, which meant her computer was flagged for diags. When a computer is flagged for diags, it gets plugged into the network and remote tech starts the battery of software diags on it. Depending on the condition of the computer, the diags can take between 4 and 12 hours. So it's for 12 hours and then someone actually goes to work on it. I told the client that right now we were looking at a 2-3 day turnaround. I like to underpromise. So there's an open connection. I slide it in, connect the cables and queue it up. Typically someone will start the diags in 15-30 minutes at that point. So the client got checked in at like 10 or 10:30 in the morning. 4 in the afternoon she calls in wanting to know why we haven't started on her laptop. Okay, it's a bit odd but not totally unheard of. She may have simply assumed we hadn't started since we haven't called. So I go back and check. And yeah, diags aren't running. It's also no longer queued. Someone may have moved the laptop and interrupted the connection, or the computer charger lost connection or something. It happens sometimes. I apologize for the delay. Make a note and confirm that it is queued up, the connections are tight and that it is flagged for diags, and ready to go, and that a tech should be starting the diags anytime now. Just to make sure there isn't a problem, I ping the tech line and ask them to confirm the unit is queued. They can see and it's in line to be started. Should be started in about 5 minutes. Finish out my shift. Leave for the day. I come back the next day. First call of the day. Same lady wanting to know why we haven't started work on their computer. Okay, this is somewhat unusual. I go and look at her computer. And it is no longer queued. And don't have any diag results. Okay, so something is going on. I once more apologize to the client. Explain that something atypical is going on and I am going to look into it. IRAQ. Ping the tech line. Confirm they can see it, that it is responding to the ping request, and ask them to prioritize the diags on it so I can personally confirm that the diags have been started. Pull a few strings, and I get it to go through. I see the diags starting. I make a note of the time in the service order. Okay, good to go. I go back to the counter. Rest of my shift goes off without issue and I leave for the day. I come back the next day and there is a message from the client who is absolutely livid that we still haven't started work on her system. I'm trying to figure out how she got that impression. If she called after I left, the other members of the department would have told her that the diags were running or were done and what the results were. I personally saw the diags started, so I know they got started. I go to look at the computer fully expecting to see a nice detailed multi-page diags report all set to contact the client and find out what. There is nothing. The diags were not finished. It's no longer queue. There are no notes on the service order. What the hell? I ping tech line and ask for the access log on that connection. Okay, it lost the connection about 4:30 the afternoon before. Ugh. That means the diags were running for over 6 hours but didn't finish. Otherwise, I could view the report. I call the client back, apologize for the delay, explain that I personally saw the diags started and something knocked the computer off the connection about 6 hours later. Given that the computer has now been here for 48 hours, it is now a priority ticket. So I grab one of the techs, explain the situation, and tell them I want to set the laptop up on the desktop shelf so the techs can keep an eye on it. We move it, set it up, requeue it, ping the tech line again, explain that it's now a priority, get the diags rolling on it, make a note of it in the service order, and we go about the rest of our day. 2:15 rolls around and the tech flags me down and explains that he just saw the laptop drop the connection and switch to a remote desktop connection. As we're looking at the computer, we see someone is accessing the computer and the remote software has knocked off our remote connection. Almost on cue the phone rings. I answer it. It's the client. who is livid that we still have not started work on her computer. Mom, do you use remote desktop software on your computer? I ask. Yes. It's how I know you morons haven't started work on my computer. She shrieks in the phone. And you were just using it to look at your computer, I presume? I ask. Yes. Why? She demands. And you used it yesterday about 4:30, I'm guessing. I ask. What difference does that make? She asks. I'm just trying to figure out what it is that keeps preventing us from completing the first step in the repair process. Did you use it about 4:30 yesterday? I ask a bit more sternly. Yes, I guess it was about then. She finally concedes. Please hold for just a minute. I put her on hold and ask the tech how she could be accessing the computer through the remote desktop when our network is isolated. He ponders it for a moment and thinks the laptop could be connecting to the public Wi-Fi. I ask him to get TechLine to launch the Diags software. He does so while I go to disable the wireless adapter. Normally when we launch the Diags system it disables all the other network connections but the Ethernet connection unless we tell it to test those connections. Apparently, it wasn't doing that this time. I nod and go back to the customer. Alright mom, I need your help with something real quick. Would you please try to access your computer via your remote desktop software? I ask. What are you doing? Why aren't you working on my computer? She demands. Yes mom, I am testing a theory about why we have not been able to complete the work on your computer. Would you please try to access your computer via your remote desktop software? I explain. Fine. She sighs. A moment or two go by. What the hell? I can't access it now. What did you do? It was working just a few minutes ago. What did you do? You have to fix it now. She starts shrieking. Yes mom. Your remote desktop software was interrupting our diagnostic software and crashing the process, forcing us to start over a process that looks to take about 8 or 9 hours to complete. I explain. What do you mean? She demands. We have started the diagnostic process 4 times now. 3 of those times you have accessed your computer with your remote desktop software and broke our connection to our diagnostics. To be blunt, you are the reason that we have been unable to complete our diagnostics on your computer. Now that I have disabled your wireless adapter, your computer is no longer connected to the internet, allowing us to do the work you have asked us to do. Because your computer has been here for more than 48 hours, it is now a priority ticket. With that being said, we are still looking at 8 to 12 hours to finish the diagnostics and to identify the problem, and then we can fix the problem. So the estimated turnaround time at this point is 24 hours. I explained. The problem with her computer was she had 2 pieces of malware that the automatic repairs, which are the last step of the Diags, dealt with. So if she had just not used the remote desktop system, it would have been done that first morning. Thank you. Next. While not IT, we have an MSP for that. I'm typically the front line on minor/emerging issues, not only for our department, but the technicians' laptops out in the shop. If it's something I can't fix, we call the appropriate people. I'm usually the first one in the door, well before anyone else. We open at 7, normally here around 6:20 to get the heat started, coffee on, make sure a meteor didn't fall through the roof, the usual. Come into a circulation fan clacking away like someone stuffed a baseball card in the spokes. Heat won't turn on. Half the lights are out. The ones that will turn on are flashing on and off enough to cause a seizure. Office microwave is beeping like I just shut off a short circuit/Wall-E double feature at the saddest moment. Most of the front office is out, but intermittent power on sockets. Make a mad dash to hit all the power strip switches before anything else possibly fries. Lug the industrial coffee maker to a working outlet out in the parts department so people can at least have a hot beverage to warm their hands when they come in. We have a power leg out. It happens at least once a year around here for various reasons. Check the server rack. It's functioning, but both UPS units sound like my old 2004 Malibu Classic when half the serpentine belt broke and it was thwacking around endlessly at idle. Thanks to the power switching in and out like a deranged wallaby on meth. Shit. Text the bosses. They have me call the power company. I can't call outside of hours without permission. Eversource tells me they'll get someone right on it, no ETA. I describe the situation to my Grams. His response to the server noise is for me to shut everything down altogether. Mind you, Batteries are still at 96-100% and the network is up. I refuse, telling him that they should do an orderly shutdown if things get too bad. He tells me again to just yank the plugs altogether. I insist that it will only make a bad problem worse. He's risking turning a simple power outage into a multi-day recovery. The rack hasn't been turned off in years. Doing so could be very bad. Tell him I'll monitor the rack, and if it's taking a dump that I'll call the MSP. If I call before 8 AM, it's a big after-hours surcharge for us. I also tell him that I'm unable to do an orderly shutdown as the monitor attached to the rack is missing its power cord, so I have no direct access. Yay. He says again to do it. I stop responding to his tests. Instead I call Eversource back at 7:55, explaining that I need something to tell the boss when he walks in the door in 5 minutes. Turned out they were already at the pole and were fishing the dead squirrel from the transformer. Get things humming just as bosses come through the door. Boss sees me an hour later, doesn't say a word about my non-responsiveness to texts, just a thanks for handling things. Recommend to my boss to have MSP check out the UPS units, explaining his non-techniness that while they did do their job, they need to be checked out to make sure they are still capable for the next time it happens. And it will happen. Any bets on what would have happened if the plug was pulled? Chances are that if he got here before things finished getting back online, he would have done just that. Thank you. Next. TLDR. He thought some Bermuda Triangle magic was making all wireless signals null and void in his room. Was asked to diagnose a network issue. It was found that a bad wireless access point was to blame. Side note, this is in an old solid building. It was a simple fix. Just hardwired the computer and the problem was solved. Told the person, who was there and watched me fix it, that the wireless AP was bad and that it'll need to be replaced, but their computer's internet is working because I patched it into the network. This is where the story should end. They then start to explain to me that a new AP won't fix the issue because their room is a dead zone. I assure them that a new AP hung 10 feet away in the same room will work just fine. But they insist that because their room was a dead zone, it can't have a wireless signal. After going around in a circle a couple of times, they then pulled out their cell phone to show me how their phone won't get cell service, and because of that, the room is a dead zone. I had to explain to a grown man that the cell signal for their phone came from antennas miles away and that the build's material was blocking it, and that the AP will actually do the communications between his devices and the internet. He not only didn't know the difference between a cell signal and wireless network signal, he also thought some Bermuda Triangle magic was making all wireless signals null and void in his room. I wish I could say he was better informed after I left, but he just wouldn't get it. Thank you. Next. I work with truck drivers and their electric logging system. Our software is loaded onto a dumped down Android tablet. All the fun stuff is removed, and software needed for our app is loaded on instead. One driver calls in, our program kept failing on his tablet. The settings are password protected, so I make a new password that is valid for only one use, and walk him through clearing data on the app. Didn't work. Driver, should I do a factory reset? Me, no, that will not help. Let's reinstall the application instead. I walked him through uninstalling the app. I reflagged the download, and disconnected the call, since it can take a while. The download failed. I called him back. Me, I'm going to try it again, but if it doesn't work you will need a new tablet. Driver, would a factory reset fix it? I don't want to have to pay for a replacement. Me, no, that will remove everything. Don't do that. I'm monitoring the progress. A coworker took another call from the same driver. Guess who did a factory reset? Guess whose tablet is completely missing any relevant background software that our app requires? Guess who is now paying for a new tablet? I'm just baffled on how he got into the settings to do it. I think he got the master password from another driver. Thank you. Next. So I worked in a computer repair store. This lady about 35 comes in with this bright pink laptop around lunch. Hello, welcome to computer shop. How can I help? The lady slams her pink laptop onto the counter. Yeah, my laptop is extremely slow. Can you press a few buttons and fix it for me please? Sure, let me have a look. So I boot up her laptop and see the Windows loading screen. It's there for much longer than normal and could hear the hard drive struggling. Yeah, it looks like you're going to need a new hard drive. Look, just fix it for me, I need a laptop working for tomorrow. Well, we have a brand new 1TB hard drive for £55, sold at cost, and a £40 service charge. It will take. No, that's too expensive, just fix it without replacing anything. I can't, unfortunately. Your hard drive could die any moment. She storms off. Around 4 she comes back. Yeah, you were actually cheaper than everyone else. Can you do that before close? I won't be able to do it for today, but it can be ready about 11 tomorrow. I said. That will have to do. She says. I boot the laptop back up and no C drive found. The hard drive died. I tried a recovery, managed to get some data, not all. She wasn't happy.